I'm seeing with new eyes, even in the dark. Let's go get lost. Just take my hand, ignore the cost. Forget.
What is good, Nymphan? Welcome back to the Team Help Ultimate Champion stream. I'm once again joined by SpeedyQ. How you doing, buddy?
Very well in Unum. Thanks very much for having me once again. Excited for this episode and our recap of Gameweek 117 and obviously the look forward to the weekend, Gameweek 119 on Ultimate Champions.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about Gameweek 117. So no top finishes for me, unfortunately, this time around. But a little bit of MGC, and look, it all helps, right? You just gotta keep adding on to it.
Most definitely. Keep on grinding. The same as myself. I think my best position was 6th in under 23 star, which was a little bit of champ, but grinded some nice MGC. And that's the way to go. As you're progressing in the game, grind that MGC, either go for your lower packs, dependent on your collection score. Otherwise, save a bit for those bigger packs later down the line.
That's what I like doing. I like stashing. I like stashing the coins and then going for a bigger pack. That's what I like doing. But, I'm being consistent with that. And that's what you've got to be if you want to get those bigger packs, for sure. For sure.
Most definitely. The most important thing is if you have a bad week or you don't do too well in with your standards, is always look forward to the next one. I think over the last 2 weeks we've had a continuous run from weekend into midweek into weekend into midweek game weeks, and there's always football around the corner. So never get too down if you don't earn or win like you want to.
Yeah, yeah, that's the good thing about Ultimate Champion, where with FPL you have to kind of wait a week, sometimes 2 weeks to do anything. With Ultimate Champions, like literally, you've got no time to get sad about it. You're just straight into the next one, which is kind of cool.
100%.
Right then, so you lucky people again have the chance to win yourself a fabulous silver pack. Once again, courtesy of Ultimate Champions. Speedy, you tell them what they got to do, buddy, to get this silver pack.
Thanks very much, Tim. Yeah, today you guys can just post in the chat your favorite or have to have under 23 Ultimate Champion player for Gameweek 119. Please also remember, once the winner is selected, get in touch with me on Discord and share with me your in-game manager name for UC and also your email address in my DM once we've announced the winner. Thank you very much and good luck.
Yeah. So you guys super lucky there. You're getting them every week on this channel, so you know where it's at. You know where it is at. Cool. Okay then. So let's head on and chat a little bit about how people did last week, shall we? And I think we're gonna have a quick chat about the points that our players that we recommended did, right, Speedy?
Yes, the Gameweek 117 recap, Nim.
Yep, that's the one.
Of our 3 players. We didn't do as well as our first stream. Our 3 players, obviously, that we selected. The first one was Claudio Petrilla from Rapid. Remember, he's recently made his move there and he's been on fire. He was involved in a 1-1 draw between Hermannstadt and Rapid, and unfortunately, he only got a 76 base points, so not the best returns. Helgrimar Steingrimson, jumping to him from KA. They lost 1-0 to Fram. Terrible score from him after his great highs in the previous game weeks. Only 32 base score on Ultimate Champions. However, we had one shining light, which is Mr. Mark McGuinness from Cardiff, our defender. He got his clean sheet, 203 base score, and he played the full 90 minutes as well. So one little shining light out of those 3.
Yeah, would be a Welshie holding them up, wouldn't he? Fellow Welshie, a dragon doing his bit for us. Yeah, he definitely kind of stood out amongst some poor picks there by us. But, that's how it goes sometimes. We can't win them all, can we?
100%.
Cool. Okay, well, let's head on full steam into game week 119 and let's look at the teams that we should be targeting.
So there's quite a number of teams which we will mention, but obviously we're focusing on 3 teams for game week 119. The first team who is on fire lately is obviously Sunderland. They're currently 4th in the English Championship, playing fantastic football. I think in their last 8, they have 6 wins, 1 draw, and only 1 loss. They play at home to Middlesbrough on Saturday. So any player in any position will be a great selection for any of your teams or your lineups. They also have a very young team, so there's a lot of under-23 candidates for the under-23 tournaments and divisions within Ultimate Champions. Obviously, we would all love to put a full 11 into our team, but we can't do that anymore on Ultimate Champions as we have the recently introduced stacking penalties. So if you're entering a 5-a-side division, you can have a maximum of 2 players from a specific club. Any more than that, and you will get penalized with a stacking penalty. And then obviously in our normal 11-a-sides, you can have a max of 3 athletes or players from one team. Anything over and above that, you get penalized a percentage of their score as well. So very important to know. But Sunderland, I think if you select any of their players in your team, it should be a win for the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. I just wanted to give Bobby a shout out because he's mentioned a name here, Adam Markia, I think it is. Last week he did mention a name that will come up a bit later on, and he smashed out the park. So yeah, just keep an eye out on Bobby's selection there. Yes, absolutely. Sunderland smashing out the park as you say, Q, and it's a team it's the stacking penalties are tough, like, because I went all in on Arsenal, of course, when I signed up, and now of course I have to kind of pick and choose each week, which at the moment with all the injuries is not so difficult, but there will come a time again in the near future where that will be a little difficult. But I'm loving these teams, and I'm hoping that you guys will be able to get some good picks out of them. But with that, shall we have a little look at who our 3 players are that we would target?
Before we do that, Nim, I just want to jump. Shame, I paused after Sunderland because I know you've recently
yes.
Got Mr. Jack Clark, but we'll get to him now when we get to the players. So the other 2 teams, just for the weekend as well, is Petrol. Petrol obviously play in the Romanian Superliga.
Yeah.
They currently 6. Nothing spectacular about them. Last played 8, 3 wins, 4 draws, and a loss. So they are draw masters. However, this weekend they play at home against UTA Arad. I think some fantastic selections. Whether you're looking at the defense, you can look at players such as Paul Pop, Dawa, Bart Myers as well is a great selection, and there may be Jehl as well in the midfielder. Also to take note, very important, Bilal Omrani has also just joined them recently, and he's a forward on Ultimate Champion. So keep tabs on him and see how he performs. Might be a potential selection for the future. And then lastly, one of our favorite teams, Boda Glimt. They are playing Molde away. They actually are now top of the Elite Surin. They lost in their last 11 games, 7 wins, 4 draws, no losses. They overtook Viking last game week to get top spot by 1 point. So it should be an exciting finish to the Elite Surin. Always take note that they are playing tonight in the UEFA Conference League. So take note on how the game plays out, what team selection there is. And one big thing that came to mind yesterday is that one of the stars is out for the weekend. He has picked up 4 yellow cards in the league and 1 in the cup competition. So that's 5 yellows. And he will be out for the weekend, and I'm sure you know who it is, Nim.
Gutted. Pellegrini is out, and I am gutted because he is like one of my mainstays in my teams. He's my kind of counterpart every week.
No, he scores very, very well on Ultimate Champions. But look, that they still play well without him. It's sad for certain managers that want Pellegrino in their team. But maybe it opens up some more opportunities for the other attacking players within Boda Glimp to share the limelight a bit, if we can put it that way.
Yeah, good point. Good point. I never thought about that. Yeah, that's interesting. I think it might kind of trip a few people up, that one, but it also allows people maybe with a bit more of a kind of wider collection, as you say, to kind of have a bit of a punt, which would be quite nice this week, I think.
That's correct. Just before we jump in the next to the next segment, Nim, I just want to mention a couple of other teams that our champs could potentially keep an eye out. Riga, Rapid, as we mentioned, Cardiff, Bolton, Peterborough, Universitas Craiova, FCSB, Partizan, Tromsø, CFR Cluj, Ferrol, the good old Leverkusen, Safe Bet, and TSC. Those teams have relevantly nice fixtures for the game week. So I think any players from them could be a great selection for their teams as well.
Yeah, I agree there. And I mean, I've been done over a little bit by some of those Riga players. So I feel a bit sore. But yeah, they're always a great team for sure. And let's then head on to our 3 picks, because we've got plenty to talk about there. And who are the 3 players we're shouting out this week, Speedy?
That's correct. So the first one is one of your new purchases, Mr. Jack Clark.
Yeah.
I think you jinxed him, because he didn't score last night, because we currently have a midweek Ultimate Champions game, but he still scored decently last night, even without a goal. I think he had 130 base points in Ultimate Champions. In his last 10, he's got 7 goals. He's got a last 5 average of 188 points on Ultimate Champions. He's a must-have in any of your team lineups. As I suggested earlier, he's one of the Sunderland players that qualifies for the under-23 divisions. He's only 22 years old. And then Sunderland, as I mentioned, they did play last night, and even without a goal, he did very, very well. So I think he's a must-have for game week 119. With him being young, etc., I don't think there's any chance of rotation. And as I mentioned earlier, they're playing at home to Middlesbrough, so surely some goals or assists in the pocket. Then a kind of differential player that I'm going for is Bart Myers from Petrolol. We mentioned Petrolol a little bit earlier. He's played 10. He's got no goals, no assists, 3 clean sheets. His last 5 average is only 120. We must remember in the beginning of the season, he wasn't starting all the time for Petrolol, but in the last 3, 4, 5 games, he started very, very well. He doesn't, in the last 2 games, he has a base score on Ultimate Champions of 183 and 192 in 2 0-0 draws. So he's returning to the form that he had last season. Petrolol are very, very good defensively, and with a home game against UTA this weekend, I expect him to score very well with the potential of a clean sheet again. And very important to note is we have certain tournaments where there is a point cap. So certain of your tournaments, you need to take your last athlete's last 5 games average into consideration, and you cannot enter a team above that point cap. So sometimes looking for these certain gems where you don't just look at the last 5 average, but you look at the 5 fixtures and you see, okay, the previous 3 didn't do too well. The last 2 is on fire. He's got some massive greens. With having a little average like that of 120, it could assist in setting up a quality team for those point cap tournament divisions in Ultimate Champions.
Absolutely. And just to interject there, I know this about Bart because you actually sold him to me as one of my players, and then he just stopped playing for several weeks, and I was like, "What have I done?"
No, he's really a fantastic player. He had a great season last season. Obviously, there were a couple of new players in Petrolol's team. He didn't start off well or in the starting lineup in the beginning, not sure the reasons, but he's back and he's scoring well on Ultimate Champions, which is fantastic. Then the last pick potentially also a differential. Mr. Jamal Lowe. Don't get confused by the QPR jersey. He's currently on loan to Swansea. He's played 5 for Swansea since joining them on loan. 3 goals, 1 assist. Last 5 average of 160 points. He's had an amazing last 3 games for Swansea. His base scores in the last 3 games have been 224, 214 and 207 respectively. Wow. He's also on penalty duties. They played away at Plymouth. They play away at Plymouth in game week 119, and I see him continuing his form. Just to give you some insights on Ultimate Champion. So obviously Swansea is not one of the teams that we officially have a license with, but because we have certain teams in that division, if one of our athletes move from a team and goes to another league that we have teams in, that athlete is still covered and scored within Ultimate Champion. So that's very important for people to understand and know surrounding your athletes in the Ultimate Champions platform.
Yeah, that definitely confused me a little bit early days, I have to admit. But yes, as I think it was Crypto Sparky pointed out, unless Nim jinxes Jack Clark again, then we are hoping he may be a good scorer again this week. I do seem to have that effect a little bit on cards that I buy. Leno from last week, for instance. Got him in and we boosted him and we played him and he didn't have such a great match. So I do apologise if I end up buying a particular player and they don't do so well. They do come good eventually, sometimes. but I do have a bit of a record for breaking people, so sorry about that. And with that, shall we take a look at my team?
Perfect.
So the league team, you said that Pelly is suspended now, so yes. I'll need to take him out. And
yeah, so what we discussed earlier, obviously you've set your global league team up for game week 119. Great defense that you've got set up there. Also like the midfield, I see you have your Ezekiel Palacios, which is also one of your new recruits over the last 2 weeks, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. And then also your forwards, barring Pellegrino, who's obviously injured at the moment. So we discussed that potential and had a look at the forward options, and we've noticed that old Acor Adams, who's now playing for Montpellier, he had a fantastic game this last game. He scored 200 and odd base score. He scored 2 goals in that game. So we're going to take a punt on putting him in. They are at home to Clermont this game week. So I think it's a good replacement for Pelly, who's going to be resting.
Yeah, so the one thing I have very much noticed this week in particular is that I am a little short on forwards. So that's something now that I'll need to kind of focus my collection on a little bit, is bringing in some forwards, especially as we're coming out of the summer leagues and into the winter leagues. A lot of my forwards were like summer focused. So I do need to get a few more kind of winter forwards. And Did we say we were going to chuck the captaincy? We're going to put it on Palacios, weren't we? I think.
It was. I left that up to you. I always captain Palacios when he's in my team. Amazing player, even when he doesn't score, because of his possessive stats, defensive qualities as well. He scores massively well. I think I have his mythic, and I think last week, without any goals, if I'm not mistaken, he got me 500 and odd points as captain. But between him and Jake Clark, I leave that option up to you. Jake Clark's also on fire. Palacios is on penalty duties, so I won't say it's much of a muchness, but really you make that choice.
Leave that down for me when it goes wrong. You guys let me know in the chat what you'd prefer me to do. Would you go Palacios or would you go Clark, knowing my cursing record for you guys? Okay, so as I said a little bit earlier in the stream, I kind of focused my efforts on the UC Tier 1 tournament entry. And we would like to, I'd like to just give a shout out to, I think it's Dew, so it's Deau, who I got my Palacios card off of. We had a little bit of a kind of unfortunate, like, faff about when the cards kind of got swapped over, and he was very patient with me, so I really appreciate like us getting that over the line, so thank you for that, buddy. But instead of me kind of just showing you again what my tier 1 team is, because you know it's going to have a fair few of the players that are already kind of in my league team, we thought we would give you a show about what team I've entered for the new tournament, right, Speedy, the Diversity Cup.
That's it. So as Nim mentioned, she went strong in the tier 1 five-a-side with a lot of your quality epics, including Jack Clark, Palacios, and a couple of the others. So with the remaining athletes, the epics and commons, etc., we put up I think a relatively decent side in the Diversity Cup semi-pro division. Now, what's cool about UC is every game week, basically, they throw in a special tournament from your pack fields to your over 28s. This specific one is a Diversity Cup. You can only select one player from each club. As soon as you select a second player or a third player from the same club, you will have a stacking penalty imposed. So if you are entering this specific tournament as Nim is, make sure you have one player per stack. If you're not sure of how to view your penalties, if you've selected too many players above what you are allowed, there will always be a little yellow envelope that will appear on that actual athlete's image. But as you can see with Nim's team, we've gone with Sava. He's keeper for CFR, doing very, very well lately, scoring well. So that's a safe bet. We've gone for a relatively strong defense as well, 5-man defense, so we can fit in those 4 epics. Bart Myers is there, the one that we discussed in our thread. We are throwing in Odegaard just as a differential. Yes, they're playing Man City, massive match this weekend. But I think if I think it'll be a tight one. Watch me be proved wrong because I'm wearing an Arsenal top, but I think it'll be a tight one. And hopefully if it's tight and maybe we come on top, I think Odegaard will score pretty well, especially with doubts surrounding Bukayo Saka, and then obviously Martinelli, we're not sure about him as well. Pjanic is back, so I think he's a good selection, might score very, very well. And then what we've done forward, you'll see we've got Pellegrino still in, but we are only doing that for the sub trick. So we've Pellegrino and Finn Bogson are in. We've got 3 hopefully starting forwards on the bench, and
if anyone knows why Olsen didn't start, sorry, Speedy, to interrupt you, but if anyone knows why Olsen didn't start in the last match, let me know in the chat, because we are intrigued, aren't we, Speedy?
100%. So the best 2 scorers from the bench will obviously come on. It was a bit difficult to think of a captain, so we thought we'd go with Gautier Lorez. Le Havre is playing decently. Yes, they are away from home, but they are playing a team that's a bit lower than them in the league, and Lorez is normally quite decent and quite consistent. So if there's a clean sheet, he should score well.
Yeah, absolutely. We did have a question in the chat from Bobby Love. He said, do we think that Patino is worth a shout for Swansea too?
Patino, funnily enough, Charlie Patino, potentially, yes, he played last night. Funnily enough, after he played, he appeared on the marketplace and I bought him. So it's a new addition to my collection. He's under under 23. So lots of years of utility for him to be made use of, as long as he stays in a covered league and a covered club. So yeah, I think he's got good potential. Swansea are playing away from home, if I'm not mistaken, but good potential to score. He's going to be in the midfield. He's going to be the playmaker, pull the strings, and hopefully set up many goals for my Jehl loan.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah, you'd like that, wouldn't you? And just wanted to give a shout out to Thinker. Hey, buddy. 12th place in Global League. Well done, well done. Lizzie, I think that's how I'm saying it. Saka is injured, so I just kind of wanted to jump on this a little bit because I obviously cover a lot of FPL stuff, and Saka is usually in or amongst that sort of thing. The thing with Arteta is that he tends to play Saka regardless of let's not say regardless of injury, but let's say if he can push him, he will. So because he has a bit of I guess, a thing of where he'll play Saka where he can. So there is a potential that he may still start this weekend against City. City's a big game. Arteta needs him. It may be why he took him off, kind of somewhat precautionary in the last match. However, the noises coming out of the camp at the moment is that it was a little more serious midweek. I mean, we could chat, myself and Speedy could chat till the cows come home about whether that was the right call, playing him midweek. Personally, I don't think it was. Maybe we should have left him just to kind of be good for City. But as it was, we lost the game. So I think there's every chance that he may play, but I think you guys are going to need to keep your ears to the ground for any information that he may have travelled or trained. If he has trained and if he has travelled, I would expect him to play some part in the match. Would you agree, Speedy?
Yeah, most definitely. Look, it's one of the biggest game. Look, every Premier League game is massive these days, but obviously playing against Man City, especially what happened last season, in the last couple of games, giving the title basically to Man City. So I think it's an important game. Anyone that, even if Saka is 80% fit, I think Arteta would give him a start or at least put him on the bench. So if you want to cover yourself, potentially look at playing a midfield sub trick where you've got your sub bench with midfielders on with Saka there as well. If Saka plays and scores better than your other two mids, he will then come on if you're not 100% sure. But we've still got until tomorrow to hear if there's any news, even though Arteta is very tight-lipped about a lot of things and doesn't give us information as we would like.
No, he doesn't. But I do get some words going sometimes on the Vine, and if I hear anything, I will, of course, check it in the Discord for you guys. So do make sure that you are signed up to the Discord. The link is in the description below. But welcome, Jadar, to the Nympham. And thank you very much for subscribing. And
Just before we finish off or sign off, just a little bit of news. I'm sure people are aware, but obviously Sheffield Wednesday, I think it was late last night, there was news that they sacked their manager.
Yeah.
So yes, they've been unfortunately quite terrible this season. So look out for the new manager bounce or the no manager bounce this weekend. You never know what could happen. They're playing Huddersfield, and they are playing at home, if I'm not mistaken. So there might be some change in fortunes.
I hope so, because I have a few a few players there, so it would be nice to be able to start using them again for definite. So let's hope there is a bit of a new manager bounce on that one. I just wanted to pass back over to you just to remind people what they have to do for the silver pack before we wrap up. Oh, you're muted, I think, bud. There you are. All good.
You mentioned about the silver pack?
Yeah, just wanted to remind people what it is they got to do for that silver pack.
Yes, so remember, once we announce the winner, I've actually received the winner. The winner goes to Emiliano if you have liked and subscribed Nim's channel. And his selection for the under 23 was Claudia Petrilla, who we discussed last week, if you can recall.
I do.
So all you need to do, Emiliano, is send me a DM with your in-game manager name, UC manager name, and then your email address, your UC email address, and we will arrange that as long as you reach and all the criteria that is set. So like and subscribe.
Thanks, guys. Thank you all so much for joining. It's been another good one. These are only little short streams because we just want to try and get as much information into them as possible for you, and that you're not kind of having to waste half of your day watching the stream to find it all out. So hopefully you guys will share this as well to anyone else who plays Ultimate Champion and get them in on the game. Do join. The link is in the description below. If you do invest, remember to only invest what you can afford. And we are very grateful to have had you. Thank you so much, Speedy, for joining me. And we will wrap up there. So it's goodbye from me and it's goodbye from Speedy.
Bye-bye all.
Feels like I'm caught up in a trance. Can't come down all night. The city never stood a chance. With you by my side, it's all ours. So don't second guess. Let down your guard. Just take a chance. I feel the hours ticking down. Wish I could turn it all around, but in my mind we're frozen perfectly in time. Can we turn back the night and stay in this dream for a week? Can we turn back the night and stay in this dream for a week? Can we turn back the night? Same old places come alive. Wherever we are, feels like I'm seeing with new